going wrong for you at the moment? What are you wanting to make better? What are you hoping you're going to get from this webinar? I'm here to entertain you for the next hour and hopefully give you lots of tips and tricks on how to pimp your LinkedIn profile. I'm on Twitter at Jonny Ross. There's the hashtag #OneYorkshire. Feel free to tweet. What would you rate yourselves out of 10 on LinkedIn? Just pop in the chat box. By the way, in the chat box, if you select the blue drop down, you can change it to panelists and attendees so that other people can see what you're saying. Some of you have got, quite a lot of you have got it selected as panelists at the moment, so not many people will be seeing much of what's going on in the chat at the moment. But what would you say out of 10 you are on LinkedIn? How good are you on LinkedIn? Give me an idea. A 6 out of 10, we've got someone started. Got some 5s, 4s, 8s, 7s, 5s. Not got any 10s. That's a shame. I was hoping someone could take over and I could have a bit of a rest. Okay. So we've got a good mix, but an average coming out at probably about a 6 from what I can see. And yeah, as I said, do drop your LinkedIn URLs. Still, a lot of you are using the panelists only in the chat. Feel free to change it to attendees and other people will see your LinkedIn URL as well. So what are the objectives of today? Well, I think it's all about improving the presence on LinkedIn, being relevant to your potential clients, using LinkedIn to win new business, use LinkedIn to carry out research, learn how to build trust. I think that's really important. People buy from people. People buy from people they like, people they trust. So we need to work out how to build that trust. And I think if you can understand how search engine optimization works, you'll get a much better idea on how social media works and how social media platforms work. If you can think like a search engine, you can really get the most out of platforms like LinkedIn. It's about coming up with a plan, and it's about being strategic. For those that don't know me, I'm Jonny Ross from Fleek Marketing, an award-winning digital marketing agency. I'm a qualified optician. Gives me lots of credibility to be talking about LinkedIn, doesn't it? I set up an e-commerce site back in 1999 selling sunglasses. We were the biggest sunglass e-tailer in the UK. For about 5 years, we knew that from our buying power. We were buying direct from every brand of sunglass you could possibly imagine, every manufacturer. Oakley, Christian Dior, Chanel, Gucci, Armani, Bollé, you name it. We had big buying power. In 2005, sales dropped. Didn't really know why. Took us a month to realize that we were no longer at the top of Google. And in fact, we've been pushed to page 7 of Google. No one ever goes to page 7. You're lucky if someone goes to page 2. We were no longer at the top of Google for even our brand name. Previously, we'd been at the top of Google for every keyword you could imagine. Sunglasses, designer sunglasses, Gucci sunglasses, Armani sunglasses, red sunglasses, everything. We dropped to page 7. Took us a month to realize, as I said. We lost 40% of our turnover over an 18-month period. We went through 2 SEO agencies. Neither of them could solve the problem. 18 months later, we were still on page 7. It was a nightmare. I found a guy in New York who was on $250 an hour. But within 2 weeks, he got us back to page 1, positions 2, 3, and 4, mainly due to competition had taken over. It needed investment. The senior partner didn't want to invest. I got really frustrated with the SEO industry and decided to go off and help businesses understand what this was all about. I just want to get across to you that understanding SEO and thinking like a search engine can really make LinkedIn work for you. So we are just going to spend the first few minutes just making sure that you fully understand search engine optimization, because I think that can make a big difference. As I said, if you do have questions, please do ask them. It's great to see you here. I'm really thankful for you spending your time with me this morning. And to make it even better, as I said, ask questions. So the first thing before doing anything on LinkedIn is stop what you're doing until you've got a very clear strategy. What is it you're trying to achieve? What are your business and marketing goals. And I always say this in many of my presentations, and I'm not going to spend long on this because this deserves a good day or two. But of course, this is about LinkedIn today. But it's important that I get across that these things are important to do before you start using LinkedIn. So what are your business and marketing goals? Are they smart, specific, measurable, agreed, realistic, timely? What is it you're trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve a particular turnover in the next 12 months? Are you looking to achieve working X number of days a week in the next 12 months? What type of clients are you wanting? How much are they going to spend with you? What sort of size of client? What's the ideal type of client? What's the client that's going to work the best with you? What's going to play to your skills and your passion? What would that client really look like and feel? What sort of values might they have? What size might they be? Would they have staff? How many staff? Would they have departments? How many departments? Would they have locations? How many locations? Let's be specific. What is it you're trying to achieve in 2021? And only once you've drilled down to that with a smart objective, that's when you start using LinkedIn, because otherwise you get lost in LinkedIn and you end up going down rabbit holes and reading what people have had for lunch. And that's not strategic. As I said, do drop your LinkedIn URLs in the chat if you're wanting to network with each other. A copy of this will be available afterwards, so I will send you a copy of this video, which means you'll be able to fast forward and rewind through the slides. There will be a survey right at the end as well, which is really important for me to understand feedback and hear what you think. And there's going to be lots more. I think there's another 7 sessions in this series, all the way up till the end of March. And I'll give you details of that at the end. So you've got your specific smart objective. Let's understand search engine optimization quickly. So quick overview of web traffic. We've got organic. That's the natural listings. When you type something in Google and you see things that naturally appear, those are organic listings. Paid, that's where you pay to be at the top of Google. Pay-per-click, AdWords, and people are paying to be at the top of Google. Display traffic, that's typically where you've been on, let's say, the Jet2 website, although probably not recently. And then all of a sudden, every website you go to, there's Jet2 adverts everywhere. Well, that's remarketing, but it's display. It's a picture. It's an image. And if you click on it and go to their website, it's classed as display traffic. Social traffic from LinkedIn, from Facebook, from Instagram, from Twitter. Email traffic from MailChimp, from email campaigns. Referral traffic, that's from other websites talking about you. So if you do some PR and you're on another website and people are talking about you and someone clicks through, let's say you manage to get a link on the Yorkshire Post, the BBC, the Business Desk. The BBC would be a gold dust link, by the way. But if you managed to get an article on the BBC and it had a link to you and someone clicked through, it would be classed as referral traffic. If someone types your URL into the top of the address bar, then and comes to your website, that's classed as direct traffic. So it's important that we understand these things. And then what helps you get to the top of Google? I'm fully aware this session is about LinkedIn. Bear with me. What helps you fully get to the top of Google? Well, it's about great content. It's about making sure that the search engine can really understand the content and can understand the technical side of things. It's about making content unique and relevant and popular. And it's about good PR, traditional PR online, public relations, getting people talking about you. So there's 2 sides to search engine optimization. There's the site itself, and that tends to be around the keywords and the content. We might think of this as the LinkedIn profile, trying to integrate it with LinkedIn, which I am going to do, don't you worry. But search engine optimization, 2 sides of it. On-site, the website, the LinkedIn profile, it's about the keywords, the content, the technical aspect, the usability. Is it easy to use? Have you filled out as many of the fields as possible, given all that data? And on the second side of search engine optimization, it's what's happening off your website. It's what's happening away from your LinkedIn profile. What are people saying about you? Are people linking to you? Are people talking about you? What are they saying? Is it good? Is it bad? What are the reviews? What's the reputation? So all of these things can help power your website, but also help power your LinkedIn profile. As I said, please do feel free to ask questions. So, thinking keywords. Well, one of the ways that you could start thinking about keywords is actually just instinctively typing something into Google that you think is relevant to your business and seeing what Google comes up with. Google starts showing you questions that other people have asked or keywords that other people have typed in. And the only reason that they're there is because other people have typed them in, and quite a lot of people. So instinctively, what do you want to be at the top of Google or LinkedIn for? LinkedIn is the biggest business to business search engine. It's huge. People are using LinkedIn search all day, every day. You might not, but trust me, other people are. People rely on their networks. People trust people they know. It's a human instinct. Why do we trust people we know more than people we don't know? Why? But we do. So let's use that. And people do use that. They go to their network. They need a solicitor. They need an accountant. They need a product. They need a service, whatever it might be. And they go to their network and they say, does anyone know A? Can you recommend me A? We do it naturally for films, for holidays, for restaurants, for all sorts of things. People do it in business as well, and they use LinkedIn and they look at their network. Oh, I wonder if I know someone in my network that does whatever it might be. So we need to understand, first of all, the keywords they might be using, but second of all, we need to make sure that we appear for those things as well. LinkedIn is also, search engine optimization is also about the links coming into the website or the LinkedIn profile. So what's going on around the website, around the LinkedIn profile? Who's talking about you? Who's linking to you? And if you are interested in search engine optimization, there's a couple of seminars that are coming up before the end of March that's specifically on search engine optimization, but this slide will be of interest to you and you can pause it afterwards. It's a list full of ideas for link building to your website. So let's get on to LinkedIn. And I can't believe we've not had a single question yet at all about LinkedIn. You've said you're sort of 4s, 5s, 6s, maybe a 7. What's the thing that you're hoping you're going to learn from this today? What's the thing that you don't understand on LinkedIn? What's the thing that you want to know better on LinkedIn? Let me share some best practices with you on LinkedIn. The first thing to consider, bearing in mind that I've just talked about search engine optimization, is that your LinkedIn profile can appear in Google search. So here we've got an example. I've just done a search for social media and SEO speaker in Leeds. My LinkedIn profile is showing higher than my website. Google trusts LinkedIn. Google likes LinkedIn profiles. There is a huge opportunity for your profile to appear in Google. So don't just think about when you're in LinkedIn that you're just in LinkedIn, because you're actually on Google as well. So how can you dominate page 1 of Google? That's what I would always be suggesting. Dominating page 1 of Google for your brand, for your keywords. And one of the ways of doing that is not only optimizing your website, but optimizing your LinkedIn profile as well. I think we've got a question. Sue Beckingham asks, how can video be used effectively in LinkedIn? Answer live. There we go. How can video be used effectively in LinkedIn? Well, I'm just going to take that slide back. Great question. Thank you very much indeed. It's something that I'm going to cover a bit later, but let's just talk about it for a moment. So as consumers, which we all are, how do we consume content? Well, we read, but we like pictures as well. And actually, we really love video. We love TV. We like watching video, most of us. Typically, because you have to be typical here. So typically, people prefer images to text, and typically people prefer video to images. So video helps you really stand out on social media platforms, which is why you see a lot of video being used on social media platforms. Now, the thing about video is that not only is it more engaging, there's more chance that LinkedIn wants to show it as well because they know it's more engaging. Now, the other thing to bear in mind about video is that you could do some video and upload it to YouTube and then share that on LinkedIn. Alternatively, you could upload video directly to LinkedIn. Now, if you were LinkedIn, because you've got to think like a search engine, if you were LinkedIn, would you prefer showing YouTube's content or your own content? Because if you show YouTube's content, there's a chance that someone might go off to YouTube. If the video was on your own platform, I think you'd probably share your video more if you were LinkedIn. So how can you use a video effectively on LinkedIn? Well, the first thing is upload it directly to LinkedIn. You might even want to consider applying for LinkedIn Live. I have LinkedIn Live. It means you can go live on LinkedIn at any time. You have to apply. But LinkedIn gives a huge weighting to anyone that goes live and getting that into people's feeds. I could probably answer a lot more on video. How could you use it effectively? I think it's about, building rapport, building trust, being engaging. But I think the point that I guess I'm trying to make is video really works from a content point of view, and can really help be seen more on the platform. Mandy's asking a question. How can you keep data on views if it's not on YouTube? So that's a fair question. There's pros and cons of all of these things. The data with regard to views is on LinkedIn. Of course, that doesn't then show necessarily to other people, and you don't have that sort of that number to be able to sort of have that kudos. But the fact is, you'll reach more people with it being directly on LinkedIn. So there's pros and cons. You certainly get the data for you to be able to see what's going on, but you can't necessarily share that unless you tell people, of course. So I don't know if that helps answer that question. But thank you. I'm liking the questions. Keep them coming. Let me give you some more best practices. So how to optimize your profile? Well, there's just some really quick, simple things that you might want to consider. So for those that haven't already, you can customize your URL. So typically your URL, that's that middle bullet point here. Typically your URL has some numbers in it. Now, LinkedIn and Google both put more weight on a URL that's specific and custom with your name properly in it. So if you Google how to how to create a custom URL in LinkedIn, you can edit that so that your profile URL is just your name. Make your profile public. The way I see it, what's the point of being on LinkedIn if you're not public? I use platforms very differently. So for example, Facebook, it's a very personal, private platform for me in terms of my profile. So only friends typically can see my posts unless I've decided to put something public, but I've got a lot that's only very closed to family and friends. I use Facebook groups a lot, but anything I say in a group I'm happy to say publicly. That doesn't mean that if I'm in a group and I say something publicly, that they can see pictures of my children, for example. So I have very careful privacy settings on Facebook that allow me to do lots of different things. Whereas on LinkedIn, my settings are totally open. I never would put anything on LinkedIn that I'm not happy for anyone to see anywhere in the world. So I typically wouldn't put my bank details, my kids' names, or my date of birth, for example. But the best way to get something out of LinkedIn is to be as open as possible and as public as possible, because that means that Google can see it more, and it means that more people can see it. And if, again, you're LinkedIn and you're thinking of which profile are you going to share with other people, well, you're going to share the one that has the most data as one point to bear in mind. Put as much data into the machine as possible. Tell it everything. I just find this works with every platform. The more you tell it, the more you'll get out of it. So put your past history, put your companies, put your education, put your activities, fill it out, beef it up. And whilst you're doing it, think of keywords. So when you were a paper boy or paper girl many years ago, think of some keywords you could put into that description that might help you now. You might have to sort of join some dots there, but if you can, do it. Include your LinkedIn profile on your email signature and link to your website. Because what I was talking about earlier was the more links to a website, the higher in Google it gets. Now, if you imagine, I don't know if any of you have staff, if you're in a company with a number of staff, imagine if all of those staff are linking to your website. The more people that are linking to your website, the higher in Google it gets. And one of the ways, and I've got a question from Matthew, which I'll come to in a second, but one of the ways that you can do that is on the profile, you can go to edit your contact info, and there you can add up to 3 links. So here I've got an example of actually 3 different links of my website, but I could have a link to my podcast, a link to my blog, and a link to my website, or maybe I've got 2 different companies. I could link to 2 or 3 different companies. So that's one of the ways that you could do that. But it's powerful. Matthew's asked a question. Oh, we've got a few questions. Abby, firstly, missed the start. Yes, notes will absolutely be available. Well, should I say notes? The video, this whole thing will be available on YouTube afterwards, and you'll all automatically get an email from me later today with a link to that. Peter's asking a question. Why would you not put company name in your LinkedIn URL? Because your LinkedIn URL is all about you, not the company. It's people buy from people. To be relevant, it should just be your name, I think, in the LinkedIn URL. Listen, there's no rights or wrongs here. I can just tell you what works. And by the way, I get 30% of my business from LinkedIn. So I can just show you and tell you, and it's for you to decide. But my advice is to only put to not stuff keywords. The way I see it is that knowing Google, and LinkedIn thinks like Google. Google hates people stuffing keywords in places. And for me, putting your company name in your LinkedIn profile is not relevant. Matthew Ridsdale, if the aim of LinkedIn is to dominate Google, how much time should be spent building personal profiles versus company profiles? Also, could you talk me through the featured section, please? I don't fully understand the pros and cons of this area. Oh, brilliant question, Matthew. Thank you very much indeed. So, we've got a couple of things there. So the first thing is how much time should you spend on your personal profile versus your company profile? Well, I think the first thing to say is that who likes following a company on LinkedIn? Come on, who likes following a company on LinkedIn? I don't. I want to be friends with people. I don't want to be friends with a company. So do company pages really work? Well, I don't think they do. I think they help from an SEO point of view. I think they help give links to your website. I think if you are a large company and you're looking to recruit, then I think a company page is really important, because I think potential employees look at company pages. I think it's good having an up-to-date company page, but I don't think you should be spending very much time on there at all on a company page. My advice is, for example, if you were doing a weekly or monthly blog, for example, I would post that onto my company page once a week or once a month. I would not do any more than that whatsoever. I would not spend time on my company page. I would spend all my time on my personal profile. People buy from people. People buy from people they like, people they trust. I would start building the reputation on the personal profile. Again, if you have a look at Google and the data, Google much prefers showing personal profiles than company profiles, unless you're doing a specific search, of course. And so my advice is to spend time on your personal profile. With regard to the featured section, so Matthew's talking about at the top of your LinkedIn profile, there's a featured box, and you can decide what to feature in there. That's a way of being able to control the content that someone sees when they get to your profile. So if you've got a really good blog or a really good video or something that's what we call evergreen, that's relevant all year round, or maybe there's something that it's a bit like a pinned post, a bit like a pinned tweet or a pinned post on Facebook. What you're doing is you're pinning things to the top of your profile so that they're always visible, whatever you've done since, because in that box, it shows recent activity as well. And if you've, had this amazing blog post that you want to be around for 6 months, but then you've done lots of comments since, well, that blog post disappears. So it's a way to stick it into your featured section. Michael's asking a question. If someone already has the same name as you, you can't just use your name. What would you do here? So you can, LinkedIn will automatically add a small number or just change it very slightly. The point being is that it is customized though, so it's still far better than just the standard URL that you're given. Sally's asking a question. Are posts or articles better to get you noticed? I missed a question there as well. I'll come back to that. So let's answer Sally's question. Are posts or articles better to get you noticed? Well, so bear with me a second. I'm actually thinking of the question of how you're asking the question. Better to get you noticed. it makes me so it's all about the content, isn't it? It's got to be about, forget posts or articles. The answer is how good the content is. Yeah, it's got to be good content. So that's the first way to switch the thinking. And then it's understanding the difference between the two, I guess. So posts typically are shorter form, more immediate. Articles are longer form, opinion, blog post type style. Which rank more? It comes down to the content you could have, and the engagement. I think the question probably is, should you be doing an article on LinkedIn or should you be doing a blog on your website? And the answer is you should do a blog on your website and then copy it as an article on LinkedIn. Again, if you were LinkedIn, what would you rather share? Someone's blog of a website where you're going to send people off the LinkedIn platform, or content on an article on the LinkedIn platform, and you're going to keep people on the LinkedIn platform? So my answer is copy it. Don't worry about duplicate content, by the way. You can put a little line of text at the bottom of the LinkedIn article that simply says this was originally written on, and then a link to the blog post that it was written on. And Google have categorically said that that's fine as long as you just put that this was originally written, or words to that effect, with a link to the original URL, the original place where the content was. Then Google are very, very happy with that technique. But trying to answer Sally's question a bit more, articles or posts, I think it comes down to the content. It really does. I think probably posts would win on the data point of view, because they are there. It's not an extra step. And so again, LinkedIn would rather show you what's there without the extra step. But a really engaging article is going to do very well in LinkedIn search. Liz was asking a question. We would optimize our company page in a similar way. Cool. Good. Okay. So let's continue. Let's have a look. So let me show you a profile and just talk to you more about profiles. So this is Susie. I know Susie. One of the things to bear in mind is that once you're connected with someone, they can see your email address. Susie's email address is here. It's her BT Open World email address. It's public. Now, my advice is that, and she was the sort of chair of the IOD at the time, it doesn't feel very professional. It doesn't feel on brand. So my advice is that the email address that you have public, which I do suggest you have an email address that's public, by the way. Again, I take you back to being as public as you can on LinkedIn. But this is only my advice. It's up to you. It's your profile. But I know what works. And I would say give as much as possible. You can attach as many email addresses as you want to your profile. So all of us have multiple email addresses. That's fine. But you can decide which one LinkedIn shows when someone connects with you. So my advice is to have a branded one, your company one. Also, people spam you. That's just what happens. People then take that email address and use it to spam you. It's just what happens. You just have to accept it. Wouldn't you rather have the spam going to your work account than your a personal account? So that would be my advice there. The next thing to consider is, I know Stephen, I don't think selfies are a great thing for LinkedIn. I want you to think about the picture, and I'm going to help you think about the picture shortly. But I think a picture is really important. Jonathan's profile, I think this is a good example. If you notice in Susie and Stephen's, there's this blue header. Now, LinkedIn allow you to add a header image onto your profile. There's a branding opportunity here. There's a way to make it more professional. So invest in a header. Go to tools like canva.com and create one. It's really easy. It's free to create it as well. And Canva has got templates to help you do it. Jonathan's also thought about keywords. So the first place that LinkedIn look and the first place that Google look when someone's doing a search in either platform is it looks at the headline for the keywords. And Jonathan is a solicitor, but what he's not done is just put the word solicitor, which most solicitors would do. He's put corporate lawyer, advisor to SEIS funds, tech and innovation businesses, and employee share specialist. He has totally thought about keywords in his headline. The second place LinkedIn and Google look is at his bio, at your bio even. He's thought about keywords again. He's put work on buying, selling, and financing businesses, corporate finance, and corporate restructuring. So what are the keywords? And in fact, I would say, what are the questions? Because a lot of people are typing in questions now into Google and LinkedIn. What are the keywords and what are the questions, the phrases that you need to be including in your headline and in your bio? And really consider those and how you're using them. I was talking about a picture and making you think about pictures. Giles here hasn't got a picture. I think it's really difficult to engage. Why wouldn't you have a picture on LinkedIn? I would say if you're not going to be public and not going to have a picture, don't use it. That's what I would say. Keith, don't know if Keith's here today. Don't know if anyone knows Keith. He's a real person. He helps business owners make best use of LinkedIn. Well, the average person on LinkedIn has over 150 connections. He's got 66. Doesn't feel very authentic. I'm also not sure what his spelling is like as well in his profile. Finax. What's that mean at the top? Who knows? The point is, be authentic on LinkedIn. Would you do business with Joanne? Can we have some yes, Y or no, or N for no? Y for yes, N for no in the chat. Would you do business with Joanne? Just a quick answer. Yes or no? Would you do business with Joanne? Yes or no? Just put in the chat Y or N. Come on, for those of you that have gone off to do your emails or to watch another video, I'm pulling you back. Richard wouldn't. Alexis would. Peter would. We've got lots of yeses, loads of yeses. Richard wouldn't. It's subjective. The point here is it's subjective. But do you know what? Joanne's got a friendly face. I think I'd do business with Joanne. What about would you do business with Jonathan? Jill? I think you'd probably do business with Jill. Julian? It's really difficult. We can't see him. Barry's got his hand out, ready to shake yours. Maybe not in COVID. Joanne? She's got a nice hat. Emma? She's the MD of the castle behind her. I think that's fair enough. It's only fair to put mine up if I'm going to put others up. Owen? He's not a graphic designer. If he was, I think that would be quite good, but he's not. I don't get it. Who wants to be friends with a logo? Come on, Jackie. The point being is I want you to think about your profile images. They're really important. It's your first opportunity. It needs some kind of smile. It's your first opportunity to engage. And I really want you to think about profile images. I think they're so important. LinkedIn describes your network as everyone in your first, second, or third degree. So if I'm friends with Abby, Abby would be my first degree connection. If Abby's friends with Alex, Alex would be my second degree connection. And if Alex is friends with Alexis, then Alexis would be my third degree connection. When I took this screenshot many years ago, I must add, I had 1,182 connections. But LinkedIn classed over 10 million people in my network. I must add, by the way, that if you're in a group on LinkedIn, anyone in that group is also part of your network as well. But the point being is that I only became connected with 1,000 people, but 10 million people could see my data and I could see 10 million other people's data as well. So the more connections you've got, the more people can see you and the more you can see of them. I don't know how, I don't know how you deal with LinkedIn requests for invitations. I'm sure you get spammed with invitations all the time. I'm sure some of you don't accept or only accept people you know or that you've met. I'm a bit of a LinkedIn tart. I will accept pretty much anyone, probably based on the picture. If it's a logo, it's a no. The way I see it is that I never know who that other person might know. And I never know who I might want in my network one day. So, I'll accept that request from a prolific recruiter because they're so prolific that they're friends with so many people. So the moment I accept that request, I have actually brought loads more people into my network. And when I'm wanting to reach out and do some research, my search engine inside LinkedIn is suddenly got so much more data and I can see so many more people. The more people you can see, the more you can understand and actually engage with. So it's up to you who you become friends with on LinkedIn. But my advice is to actually become friends with more people than you're probably doing right now. I was doing a search. I was doing a training seminar, a sales seminar for an in-house sales team on LinkedIn. A company called Kluber. They do wind turbine oil for the for wind turbines and the shipping industry. Loads of lubrication for the shipping industry. I did a search on LinkedIn for wind turbine oil. Not one of their profiles came up. I thought, okay, I'll try just the word oil. Still, not one of their profiles came up. I had to put their company name in. You can see at the bottom right there to finally get one of my connections. I was even connected to someone in Kluber. It was only with me putting their, and they sell oil. It was only with me putting their name of the company in that I finally got connected, could see them in my search. They hadn't thought of keywords at all. So how can you win business from LinkedIn? Because as I said, I get 30% of my business from LinkedIn. Well, it's all about making sure that you're really engaging as possible. So how can you make your posts engaging? I'm going to share some top tips on how to make your posts engaging. Got a question from Sally there. If you're introducing yourself, would you use email, LinkedIn DM, or both? Introducing yourself to who or what or why. I probably need a bit more context. Would I use email or LinkedIn? I probably need a bit more context there. If I had their email address, then I might already know them. Do you think? I probably need a bit more context there. Sorry. So LinkedIn posts, how can you make them more effective? Well, I was talking about we like reading, but we prefer images to reading and we prefer video to images. So how can you bring all of that into your posts? How can you bring some image into your post? How can you bring some video into your posts? The next thing is to think about questions. Putting questions in a post can really increase engagement. Mentioning people, you can see on here where people's names are in blue. I've mentioned them in my post, and that means they'll get notified. And the chances are they'll have a look why they've been mentioned, and they might engage with the post. The more people that engage with a post, the more people see it, and the engagement increases. It's a rolling stone. Using hashtags. You can again see the blue links there where I've used a hashtag. That increases the relevancy. It helps LinkedIn and Google know to show your posts in certain searches because you've literally added a sticker, a hashtag, a pin to your post that says, by the way, LinkedIn, this post is relevant for this topic. Well, that, wouldn't you use the data if you were LinkedIn or Google? I think they would. I think if they trust you, I think if they get to know your content and they don't see you as spamming, then I think they would. So mentioning people, using hashtags, asking questions, using images, adding some video. The way LinkedIn works is that the algorithm looks at what happens in the first 60 minutes of a post going live. So what it wants to see is what happened in that first 60 minutes. And the data shows us that if there's lots of engagement, lots of interaction in the first 60 minutes, there's more chance of anyone and everyone seeing that post days later. So if I was friends with you and I came on to LinkedIn 5 days later after you posting something, there's a good chance that if your post had lots of interaction in the first 60 minutes, it will show on my home feed 5 days later, because LinkedIn knows that it had good interaction. So how can we use that? Well, the answer is at the top right of your post, you can see 3 little dots there. If you click those dots when you post, one of the options in there is getting a link to the post itself, to the status. You could take that link and you could email it or share it to 5 or 10 of your friends or colleagues or your inner circle and say, I've just posted this on LinkedIn. What do you think? Or I've just posted this on LinkedIn. Could you do me a favor? I've heard that the more interaction a post gets in the first 60 minutes can really power it. Is there any chance you could just go over and quickly like it for me or comment on it? I'll do the same for you. You could have a network of just 5-10 people where you all help each other. And yes, it's not as authentic. It's not there was a word there that's just totally vanished. It's really gone. However, you've got to manipulate sometimes, and knowing that such a big difference, such a weight is given on those first 60 minutes, then my advice is actually to manipulate and to do it. You're not going to like and share something that's crap, are you? And if you are, then that's not a good thing either. But if it's a trusted friend and it's a half decent status, like, share, and help each other and get people to do it for you, it inflates it and it can make a difference. Let's just look at a couple of other examples here. So here I've added video. Again, that can make a difference. I've mentioned people. On this left one here, I've written something, and at the bottom I've put, what would you have advised? And I've then mentioned people that I know would give some comment, would have an opinion on what I've said. So it's about thinking about, okay, I've said something. Who in my network might have an opinion on this? Let's mention them. And the chances are that they're going to come over to your status and read, listen, look, and say something. So how can you inflate these things? How can you build connections? I talked about the more connections you've got, the bigger your network, the more chance of seeing other people. If I'm trying to sell to a business, I'm being really strategic, going right back to the beginning, my objectives, my goals. I've identified particular types of clients I want to work with, particular sizes of organizations. Well, I can use LinkedIn to find those people. But I can only use LinkedIn to find those people if they're in my network. It's a lot easier, should I say, if they're in my network. So how do I build my network? Well, one of the first things you can do is literally just go to LinkedIn search, top left there, and type in a job title, for example. Maybe I know that I've got a service that I want to sell to HR directors. So I type in HR director. I've then got some drop-down options, and I can select different things. So here I've selected, I want HR directors in specific locations. So Harrogate, York, Wakefield, Huddersfield. I want HR directors in specific industries: hospitality, retail, accounting, law practice. All of this is available on the free to use LinkedIn. Just realized I've got some other questions there. Oh, okay. Done. Sorry, 1 second. I'll come back to Sally's. So I've got the free version of LinkedIn here, and this is how powerful it can be. Even on the free version, I can search at this level of detail. And I don't suggest you need the paid version, by the way. The paid version does allow you to do cold emails, but I would suggest trying to connect with someone first. I think warm it up first, so I don't really see the benefit. I think one of the only benefits I see of the paid version of LinkedIn is that you get to see everyone that's looked at your profile, whereas with the free version, only the last 5 people. I think that might be one reason. But I think unless you're using LinkedIn to the full capacity, I don't think you need the paid version. I don't have the paid version. There are tools that you can get on top of LinkedIn. So tools like Sales Navigator or LinkedIn Recruiter. Both are very, very powerful. They're CRMs. They really do help, but they're expensive. But what you could do is you could just get them for a month to sort of get a load of data. There's no export button though, but it can really help you build a picture of people that you're wanting to target. And I'm not going to go into too much detail because I'll think I'll run out of time if I go into detail of those tools. But I don't think you need the paid version of LinkedIn is probably what I'm saying. So I do a search. I've said the locations that I want of this HR director, the industries. All of a sudden, it's shown me 400 plus results of HR directors, in these industries, in these locations. Now, the reason there's 400 plus there is because I've got a huge network. How big's your network? And is it going to have that much data in it? How do you connect with someone? Well, I'm going to show you an extreme example here. Some people think it's a bit stalkerish, but these things work. So when you send someone an invitation, if I just go back a step, do not click that connect button on the right-hand side there next to someone's name. Do not click it, because if you click that, it will just send them a standard email that says, Jonny wants to add you to his professional network. And the chances of someone accepting that request is probably only 20%, maybe 25%. What you need to do is go to their profile, then click the connect button, because that allows you to add some comment, to add some reason for that user, and that person sees that comment in the email they would then receive. So I go to Joe's profile, I have a look at her profile. I can see that at the top, the highlights, I can see that we've both got people in common, that we know each other. I know Dom Birch, who used to work at Asda, for example. I look at her experience. I see she used to work at Asda. She was there for 6 years. I look further down her profile. I can see what interests she's got, what companies she follows, what groups she's in. I can see, what was the other thing I saw? Oh, she works at Taylors of Harrogate. And I know someone that works at Taylors of Harrogate. So I click the connect button and I put an optional message. I put, hi, Joe. Notice we both know Jeff Shepherd and Dom Birch. He was fab at Asda, got the name Asda in. That's a hook there. Suddenly I'm making it relevant. I also have kids at the same school as Tracy, your marketing manager. Could be a bit stalkerish, this. Small world, would love to connect with you. But the chances of someone accepting that request have now gone up to 70 or 80%. They've hugely increased the chances of someone accepting that request. And that would be me warming a contact up to then speak to them. So maybe that answers your question, Sally. I wouldn't email out of the blue. I would do this approach first. So how do you be found in LinkedIn and Google? Well, you need to give as much data as you can. Your industry, your location, an up-to-date current position, a job title, 2 past positions, your education, your skills, a photograph, and at least 50 connections. All of those things are really needed for LinkedIn to see you as an all-star, what they class as an all-star 100% profile. Those are just the bare minimum that you need. How to increase your network? Well, you could join groups on LinkedIn. You could find, let's say I'm looking to find chief execs and speak to chief execs, or I'm trying to find videographers, or I'm trying to find beauticians. There's groups for all these different types of people on LinkedIn. You could join the group and you could start connecting with people in those groups. Groups, by the way, are crap on LinkedIn. I don't suggest you spend any time on groups on LinkedIn, except to stalk the people that are in them or to find pools of people. But unfortunately, engagement is crap on LinkedIn groups. It's just a shame. Everything's moved to Facebook. LinkedIn lost the plot with groups. What are the finding common interests, common connections? So let me give you some examples. You can also look at who's viewed your profile. So here I can see Philippa must have looked at my profile when I took this screenshot. I could freak her out and just send her a quick message saying, randomly, I don't know why, but I was thinking of you yesterday. Would you like to connect? Or, Laura, I noticed you were looking at my profile. Anything I can help you with? You could also look at the manage your network page on LinkedIn. This shows you, LinkedIn shows you people that it thinks you might know. So start connecting with them. If you already know them and they know you, just click the connect button. If you don't know them, go to their page, then click the connect button and put some reason, some points as to why they should connect with you. As I said, go to a group and you can see all the members within that group, and you could start connecting with those people that are in that group. You could go to someone else's profile and look at their connections and stalk their list. So you could go to a competitor and you could click where it's got 500 plus connections. You can click that button and you can see who that person is connected to. So your potential clients, if you've gone to a competitor. I'm all for giving as much data away as possible, connecting things up. So I connect all my email accounts to LinkedIn. When I installed the app on my phone and it said, can I look at your contacts? I said, yes, of course you can. I clicked the yes button, the allow button, because I know that it will then collect all that data and find those people on LinkedIn for me and constantly be suggesting I connect with them. Brilliant. This might not be for you, but it works for me. And I get 30% of my business through LinkedIn. Look at contacts via companies. Here, I've done a search for people that work at Barclays. Maybe I'm looking to work with Barclays at some point. So here I've done a search for people that work at Barclays and I've started connecting with them. Perhaps I need to get to the, I know that we work really well with marketing departments or directors of marketing. Well, it will be a lot easier to speak to the director of marketing at Barclays if I'm connected with people already in Barclays, because the chances are some of those people will be connected to the director of marketing. So the more people we connect with, the more chance of getting to the person that I really want to get to at some point. Let me just share some of the opportunities that are in LinkedIn. And this is going back a while. And it was in one of the groups on LinkedIn. Nowadays, people just use their status on LinkedIn, their personal profile, instead of using the group as much. But this was just over a short period of time, how people are using LinkedIn. Here, can anyone recommend a good supplier of disposable paper? Does anyone know a commission-based telesales company? Can anyone recommend an organization who can supply sports kits for children? It goes on and on. Is there a mafia member who does leaflet distribution to companies? I'm looking for a solicitor to help me with copyright licensing agreements. A client's looking for 24/7 hardware support. I'm seeking an accountant. I'm looking for a training venue. As I said, the list goes on, and as I said, and people are just constantly looking for recommendations for help on LinkedIn. So I don't know if there's any more questions at all. I know that we're coming to the end here. There's a few things that I want to share with you. Let me have a look. So the question really for you is, what do you want to achieve from LinkedIn? What are you going to do? You need to bite-size this down, by the way. I've shown you lots of things, but what could you do this afternoon? What could you do on Monday? What are the very small things you could do? I'm only suggesting spending maybe 15 minutes a day on LinkedIn. I'm not suggesting spending hours on LinkedIn. You need to just bite-size it down. Let's review my keywords today. Let's review my description of my job today. Let's review my picture next week. Alex says, can you link contacts you've emailed via your Outlook work email instead of your personal email account? Yes, I believe you can. Depends on your email provider, but I'm fairly confident. You could also export your Outlook address book anyway as a CSV file and upload it to LinkedIn. So you could definitely do it that way as a bare minimum. So you can upload Excel sheets, CSV files to LinkedIn, and that would be certainly one way of doing it. I'm really pleased that you've come on this journey with me today. I'm really hoping that that's helped. Please don't go, because I've just got a few things I need to share with you. There's a survey right at the end. So when this closes, you'll be taken to a really quick survey, which will really help me polish these and make them even better. As I said, there's lots of events coming up until the end of March. Just go to the yorkshiremafia.com/events and you'll see lots more that I'm doing all the way to the end of March. I've got my own podcast that I started. I'd love you to be a listener on there. and come and spend more time with me. It's to inspire, to help, to share stories. I will post a link to that here right now, so you've got that, and you can find me on your favorite podcast listening platform. The other thing is we set up a networking group on Facebook. As I said, groups on Facebook are so much better than LinkedIn. If you're looking to chat with other businesses, to network, then there's a link there. The Yorkshire Business Club, we do a 11s every Friday. And lastly, as I said, there's the survey. You can find me on, if people that know me will know that I'll happily answer questions afterwards. So you can find me on LinkedIn, of course, and you can tweet me with pleasure. But if you've got questions, please do ask. Thank you so much for joining me today. Happy New Year to you all. And I look forward to seeing you on future sessions of these. And I really hope it's been helpful, and let me know how helpful it was in the survey. As I said, this afternoon, you'll get a copy of this, and hopefully I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.